What's up? Okay, I got to show you this view. It's pretty sweet. Hopefully it turns out okay. Wonderful sunset. Um, just see like the golden hour. um, it's just beautiful. So, anyways, so there's something. I'm gonna lose you here if you don't understand this. So I'm just gonna bring up the reference. There's something in the. Let me look it up. The book of Revelation. Yes, Revelation 2. Church of Ephesus. Yeah, essentially, John, he's like, like an outcast on this island, writing this letter, this vision that he has, and he's saying to the Church of Ephesus, like, you have left your first love, and to go back to the things that you did at first. Like, you forgot your first love. And so this thing's like permeating in my mind. I thought I'd make this video to explain what's been going on here. I feel like I've lost in touch with my first love in many respects, and I just wanted to communicate with y'all, like what that all means, and like how it translates, and how things are definitely changing. And when I mean changing, I don't mean anything new. I just mean going back to basically my first love. So no, I didn't get a haircut. I just put my hair up. So it's really three things that come to mind. The first is quality over quantity. I have a lot of experience in moving like fast for sure, but also moving in great like quantity, and sometimes sacrificing quality. And so, this has looked different for me in different ways, where as a music producer, I've worked with tons of bands, like in and out of the studio, right? But like, none of them were really that good, right? They might have been famous or big or huge, and or like just paid the bills or whatever, or we got it done. But like, when I look back on my career till now as a producer, it's like real quality stuff. It's not that much compared to like what I've done. And I'm realizing that like the reason why I got into that art in the first place was to focus on quality, not quantity. And then if you look back at like my career with my e-learning company with mastering.com, I mean, the whole business was set up to facilitate like an impact on a global level, in the thousands or tens of thousands, and sort of making this movement. And so it's obviously focused on quantity. I'm not saying there wasn't any good quality there. It's just that the business model itself, where you find the leverage is in the quantity. And so, anyways, I think like that. And then when it comes to like maybe real estate investments or something, it's like, it's leverage, right? So it's like, instead of taking $1 million and buying something outright, it's take $1 million and buy $5 million worth of stuff, right, over the country, across the country, and experience the appreciation rise there, etc. Anyways, you guys understand what that means. But I've realized I've really lost touch with my first love of quality, like good quality, right? So there's a major shift happening right now within me, which will result in a massive change externally with some of the things I'm doing. So this whole shift of quality to quality over quantity, I've just fallen back in love with like the quality of things. So I started to notice this like in the quality of food that I'm consuming, quality of life. Like, it always kind of starts there, and then like as it's kind of permeated out, I'm realizing more and more that like our work needs to affect this quality as well. So anyways, if you know anything of what I'm doing, I have this company, this e-learning company called College. And, I've fallen into the trap, honestly, of making that business all about quantity. How much money or how many people or how big of an impact, et cetera, et cetera. And I've really lost touch with my first love there. And I've just become more and more convinced that we need to optimize for quality over quantity. So yeah, like that, the ethos of that business, of that company, has been great up till now. But, I was just meeting with a couple people involved in the business, and we're about to go make a splash out in the world. And so we're going, what do we really want to optimize for? And the thing that has just come back to like the conviction thing is it needs to be quality. So essentially we're going to have like a deep advocation for at the very forefront of this, experts. So we've fallen into the trap of like serving or helping any entrepreneur or people that are pretty good at what they do or something like this. And that's been great. As we kind of move into this next season of business, though, we're taking really seriously the fact that no, we want people who are like the top 1% in the world at what they do. Like the best chef in the world, or the best like financial planner in the world, or the greatest like artist in the world or something. Like really and absolutely with full conviction going to double down on that and just focus on quality again. Like like if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it, right? So what does that look like? Well, it's definitely a shift to like really be advocating and focusing on experts, like really trying to double down on this whole like expert thing with passion, expertise, obsession, quality, right? That meets like a certain standard. I'll even go so far to say not even experts, like masters of their craft, like the best in the world at what they do. They've refined their skill set and their work and their ability to support themselves to the point where they're the best in the world. And the bottleneck is that if they die, nobody in the world can do what they do. That's who we're going for. And so where we come in is really like passing down this legacy in true apprenticeship through these incredible craftspeople in the marketplace, essentially. So yeah, there's just going to be a deep advocation for expertise and for mastery. And that is what we're going to unapologetically be advocating deeply for. Yeah, so that's quality over quantity. The other sort of pillars around that in terms of the people that we're wanting to develop, we always, the vision here with college, with the company I have, it's always been that. But what's emerging even more recently is that not only does the quality of the expertise or the craft or mastery need to be there, but two other things kind of have emerged, which is some sort of depth or interdisciplinary wisdom that they subscribe to. I'm realizing that like to get really good at one thing and become a master at it, you have to just do the thing, right? Get really good at it. However, with my sensibility and with like the ethos and culture of what we have in this company, we're also realizing that we're leveraging the interdisciplinary practices of all these individuals, right? And so leveraging that and pursuing that and realizing that a pathway of depth and mastery over a certain thing and building a business around it is also a pathway of self-discovery, of self-mastery, right? Asking deeper questions, really, I guess I tend to be much more of a philosopher than a practitioner when it comes to some of these things. While I do have my own sort of spiritual practices or interdisciplinary practices outside of my craft, the philosophy behind business is fascinating to me, that masters of their craft also have unbelievable depth and interdisciplinary wisdom. The third kind of marker here of what we're going for in terms of quality is also character. So these are people who have pursued really, it's a pursuit of like ethical wisdom into what they're doing. We're realizing that the treacherous waters of business for masters of their craft, those three things are often the things that are compromised. It's like you have to be ruthless in your conviction around your mastery. You have to be ruthless around your character and ruthless around your depth. And we realize that when going to market and developing apprenticeships around these individuals, that one of those three things are compromised. And so, yeah, going out into the treacherous waters of business and having those three things challenged is incredibly interesting for us. Understanding the inner workings of what's going on there on a psychological level and a philosophical level is it's just fascinating to me. So anyways, we're making a major shift with the company. We're going to be focusing deeply on quality over quantity with a deep advocation for mastery, for character development, and for depth, interdisciplinary wisdom. Major shift. It's a line in the sand that we're drawing. That's just happening, right? And so, yeah, this idea of like losing touch with my first love, it's just falling back in love with people who are obsessed with what they do. That's it. So I'm re-engaging with this mission of finding the top talent in the world, people that are the best in the world at what they do, with no apologies and no compromise. This is leading to larger partnership deals as well. So in my life, we have this company, right, that have this advocation for finding the top talent. We really see ourselves as like a record label of sorts for the top talent in the world. So that's one side of the mission. The other side of the mission is there's these larger partnerships deals that are happening. People that have really dialed this in, right, where they're masters of their craft, their characters developed, and depth is there as well. And I'm putting together these sort of partnership deals that are quality over quantity, right? And so this is working deeper with entrepreneurs or companies that have these sort of three things. And after some conversation, exploration of what I'm doing with them, it's leading to basically just much, much larger deals, essentially. We're talking like 7-figure deals, and being able to navigate, the influence and impact that has on the world is really where I'm interested in. So anyways, I'm re-engaging with this mission, quality over quantity, kind of trying to approach it from the bottom up by finding the real talent, and also the top down by already identifying the talent in the marketplace that's already doing the best work in the world as possible, and then bringing those people together. So that's happening on a commerce level through our education as well as through our partnership deals. So really, really excited about that. Yeah, quality over quantity. How else do I say it? Maybe the sun will go down by the time I'm done with this video. We'll see. The next thing I'm thinking about in terms of like, I've just lost touch with this thing that I'm just wanting to re-engage with full conviction, is I've said this before, which is moving from online world to the offline world into the real world. I feel like I've just been doing that like naturally. It's not been difficult to move from the interwebs to the real world. Like it's just comes so naturally to me, and that's where the real work is happening. But there's something that I'm missing, which is I want to actually make a shift from the offline world, the real world, actually back into the online world. And so, I've really done a bad job at explaining and proclaiming the things that are happening in my life in the real world. And so I'm just going to unapologetically start sharing and proclaiming these things that are happening in the real world online. I'm just seeing that the real work happens offline, and the proclamation of the work can happen online. And it's like silly that I'm not sharing that, right? So what's going on there is, while I show up here every once in a while, in the real world, I have like great speaking engagements. Um, so I have basically a speakers bureau that I've signed with actually recently. Maybe I'll post like a link down here or something where I'm like sharing and speaking, right? And so maybe one thing that you may not know is I've got plenty of miles under the hood of speaking. Like, this is something that I'm very passionate about, and articulating wisdom and contextualizing messages. I've done it primarily in a secular culture, but I'm trying to infuse sort of, more biblical wisdom into a secular culture. That's been the bee in my bonnet that I've had, and the experience that I have. But I have these real world speaking engagements where I'm like, training, Catholic clergy on how to present a more biblical centered, approach to what they do. So they're not only boring their congregations, but actually infusing real truth and real wisdom that comes from a Protestant world, which is where I come from historically, and really bridging that gap. And so these speaking engagements that I'm doing, where I'm really trying to practically bridge the gap between those two worlds. That is the Protestant. Well, it's really three worlds: the Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox world. They're so segregated right now, obviously, for many reasons, but having that now to permeate into a secular culture and trying to have unity there, that's a real passion of mine, and I'm doing that work in the real world, but I'm not sharing that. And so I really want to be bringing those insights online. I'm also having these things I really should be sharing more online, which is I'm having these large deals in the real world. And I don't want to name the institutions quite yet. My backyard, there's wild animals. I don't want to name the institutions quite yet, but there's very large organizations, particularly in the nonprofit world, that have basically eyeballs on, you could say, billions of people, but for sure millions of people. And I've been able to work on a more, a nonprofit institutional level to collaborate with them and use my gifts or wisdom or experience to help them see things that I can see that they don't see, as well as practically, help them. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is there's all this really high leverage stuff going on in that world that influences others, and people feel that, in the boardroom or the conference room in those nonprofit organizations. But I guess to give you a hint, they're more in the the nonprofit religious sector, and particularly around the content world, multimedia distribution world, and seeing where there's leverage there of bridging these divides. It's happening in the real world, and I see that there's all the leverage in the world just helping them there than for me going online and doing it myself. But that work is very significant, and I ought to be sharing that online. So anyway, these speaking engagements, as well as these large deals that I'm kind of doing in the real world, I want to move that into an online movement as well, that I can sort of share as well. Finally, with this whole online thing is I've spent most of my quote unquote career or life actually doing the work and not firing this computer up, right? Most of my businesses, right, have like existed using online, mechanisms, and so that's fine. But the one thing that I have not switched on, where I've done it in a more professional setting, but not from a personal setting, is I haven't made any large investments into myself to be speaking and using my gifts on a more leveraged way like this. Yeah, I've, recorded videos of myself selling products and so forth, and millions of people have seen it in some setting in that way, but that's really checking a box of marketing. What I've really failed to do is to make a major investment in myself each month into into speaking some of these things that I haven't been speaking very openly about. The things that I've been speaking about absolutely in the real world, and some of these things I've alluded to, but not at this level here. And so what you'll see from me, and I have to keep me accountable here, is investment into myself to be speaking kind of all over the place and to actually be capturing it and putting it online. So what this looks like is most likely setting up, I don't know, maybe even like a nonprofit movement where we're really going through an evangelistic effort to get sort of this message that I've been working on in the real world out into the world here, but have it also sort of, I don't know, be a a movement that also houses the for-profit subsidiaries that I'm involved with as well. And so I guess long story short is the TLDR is that, it's really time for me to make a large investment in myself to be speaking more openly about these things that I'm involved with. It's really a shame that I'm not sharing all that stuff in the world. It's like not even 1% of what's happening. So, yeah, doing that. This is the last thing I'll say before the sun sets. This is more personal, okay? My whole life I've been, my faith has been very important to me. And I've had this deeper connection to truth, to a search for truth, a search for faith, and I mean, to say it very explicitly, a love for Christ that has transcended everything I've done. And so that approach in my life, or that draw in my life, has just been the most important thing in the world to me. My experience with that has led me to have, obviously, experience and influence in these sort of Protestant denominations and sectors, initially through more of an evangelical Calvary Chapel, Southern California framework, but then kind of slowly meandering. My search for truth has meandered me into the Reformed camp, even getting sort of higher level education in the preaching world there, and then moving into a Presbyterian world, and then being confirmed into the Anglican tradition, and now being, embraced in a more historical Catholic setting. That move into my life, it's through my life. It's one thing I'll share is that I've previously in that Protestant setting, I've relied very, very heavily on my skill sets, my brain, my comfortability around Protestant sensibility. But now that I'm being embraced into the more historic Catholic setting, I've realized that while I have this strong Protestant background, I feel like I've exhausted a lot of those things, and I'm leading now a life of sacramental depth, to which I'm an incredible baby at in terms of spiritual practices. Just engaging with sacramental life. It's something intellectually I understand deeply, but experientially, just a baby. I believe that my entry into developing a daily prayer life, a weekly sacramental practice, is really the thing that I need to be doing first and foremost. As I look down the trajectory of my life right now, some of the things I'm doing, the things I'm being called to, it's like I have no idea how I'm going to do it, with my own efforts. But I do know that if I engage with my practices, and I lean into me being a white belt, into being a baby, into this my spiritual sacramental practices, I do know that that'll be the fuel for me for this next season of life. So that's it for me. I mean, I'm just very much aware of losing touch completely with my first love, and things need to change. And so with the quality, the advocation of what we're doing with the mission that we're doing with college, getting the top talent, larger partnership deals, just completely and utterly focused and advocating on that conviction is totally what needs to be done. That's what we're doing. You'll be seeing massive kind of moves from us there, moving all this work offline, presenting it online, showing people around the world really what's going on. and then me personally diving into a sacramental depth to fuel me for this mission that I'm on here is really just kind of the things that I really feel drawn to, as I've lost touch with my first love and going back to these first loves, right? Just been, ever since I was a kid, I've just been obsessed with mastery, with mastering certain things. I mean, I literally built a company called mastering.com, right? For God's sake. But this mastery of crafts and like getting really good at something and finding people who are really good at what they do and they're obsessed with it and they're passionate about it and they get disciplined, and man, like, why have I forgotten that? It's just a shame. This speaking ability I have that I've utilized in the quote unquote real world, to not be sharing that online at scale with an investment in myself, it's just an absolute waste of my abilities, right? And then not engaging with the faith and love that I have now to its full potential in the sacraments. It's just, my goodness. These three things, it's the core essence of who I am. And it's time to re-embrace those things and get back to it. So I don't know if this is helpful for you. I make these videos for myself. They're journal entries that I share publicly. So I don't have an audience. I don't have that, I make these for myself. So anyways, I want to show you the sunset. Yeah. We've got let's see here. Here it is. The beautiful sunset. That's it. Anyways, maybe this video makes sense, maybe it doesn't. Don't care. I just thought I'd share it. Take care.